Hey, what is going on, guys? Represent Stealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the top lane tier list for patch 8.24. So making her way up into the tier 1 for this patch for the first time in quite a while is Riven. So Riven has gotten stronger not because she's been buffed herself, but it's because she's gotten a lot of indirect buffs over the past few patches. So first off, Essence Reaver got buffed a few patches back. It's a really good item on her. This patch, Death's Dance ended up getting buffed. It's also a great item on Riven. And then she's also doing very well with the new Kleptomancy. A lot of pro players are running Kleptomancy on Riven right now as her keystone. Conquer is still the one that most solo queue players are running, and it's still not a bad option, but if you've yet to try out Klepto on Riven, it's doing great on her right now for this patch. So with the Kleptomancy and with the futures market, this setup allows you to hit a very early power spike on Riven. Now the build path I've got up on screen there is not necessarily the one that is the best or the one that you'd want to follow. Some people right now are going for Essence Reaver Rush into a Death's Dance. Some people are going for a Black Cleaver Rush into Death's Dance. So the build path right now, it's really, there's no set in stone best build path on Riven for this patch, and I think it does come down to the matchup. It depends on how well you're doing in the early game. If you are up against like a squishy top lane champion, you don't need the armor shred, then you can go like Essence Reaver and Death's Dance. If you're up against a tankier top laner, then the Black Cleaver is still going to be a great option on her. And then one more thing that's really helping Riven out right now is the fact that teleport did get nerfed in, I think it was last patch or it might have been the patch before, but this change really helps out Riven because she doesn't really want to take teleport. Ignite is just much better on Riven to allow her to have a stronger laning phase and to snowball the early game. So with those teleport nerfs, more and more Rivens are just going Ignite now and having really good success with it. And then one thing to note about these secondary runes on Riven is that most pro and high elo Rivens are running Transcendence and Gathering Storm. A lot of solo queue Rivens though are running the Shield Bash, and then they're running like Bone Plating as well. That page actually isn't doing very well on Riven right now. I think Shield Bash is a little bit overrated on Riven, and just running the Transcendence and Gathering Storm like you would in previous patches is still what you're gonna want to be looking to do in this patch. So continuing to be a staple on the top lane tier list for multiple patches in a row now is Urgot. So Urgot even gets stronger in this patch with the Death's Dance changes. That item right now is doing really good as a third item on Urgot. You still want to go for your Black Cleaver, still want to go for your Righteous Glory, but Death's Dance third item is where you're looking to slot it in, and it does provide some nice synergy with Urgot because his ultimate, it does do that true damage. So because Death's Dance now heals for all types of damage, it does make it a lot better on Urgot. So overall, Urgot's still going to continue to be one of the most consistent blind pick top laners that you can play in solo queue. He's got a good mix of tankiness and damage in his kit. You really only need to go one damage item with the Black Cleaver. You can go full tank after that, and you're still going to provide yourself with a good amount of damage while being very tanky as well. And I just think that if you're new to top lane, if you're looking for a new top laner to pick up, then Urgot is a very good choice. Similar to Urgot, continuing to stay a very strong pick in the top lane for multiple patches now is Sion. So Sion is still just the best tank that you can play right now. Even though he is a tank, he's still going to provide a ton of damage as well, and that's just why he's such a good pick for solo queue, because he's got a good mix of crowd control, tankiness, and he's still going to provide a good amount of damage for himself. So he's always going to be a pretty strong threat for his team, even if you do fall behind on Sion due to the fact that he does provide good crowd control, he has pretty good engage. You're always going to be somewhat useful on the champion. With the new Shield Bash rune, it also does have some nice synergy there with Sion's W. There's a lot of different things that you can do right now on Sion as for like rune page and build setup. The most consistent one right now is running Grasp of the Undying in this patch, but if you're in a matchup to where you're not going to get very many Grasp stacks in the laning phase, then you can run the Glacial Augment as well there. And for the build path on Sion, there's a ton of different builds right now. There's like the Sterix build and the Titanic Hydra build, more of like an AD Sion, and there's also just the full tank Sion build of like Righteous Glory, grabbing a Warmogs, Frozen Heart. So you can do a lot of different things on Sion for this patch and have some really good success with it. And then making his way into the S tier for I think the first time ever is Mordekaiser. So Mordekaiser is a very underrated top lane pick for this patch right now. With the Shield Bash introduction as well as Dark Harvest changes a few patches back, Mord is doing great right now in solo queue. He's got very good synergy with the Shield Bash rune there. He's a very strong laning top laner right now. He does very well into pretty much any melee top laner, and because you don't see a lot of Mordekaiser, players just don't know how to play against the pick. They don't know how strong of a laning phase he does have right now, and he can just really abuse that, take over the laning phase there, and just really snowball the game. With the Death Dance changes in this patch as well, it's actually a pretty strong item on Mordekaiser. Right now, what's doing best is just going for Rylai's into Liandry's. Those two items are just too good to pass up on Mordekaiser. I know that some people are going for like Gunblade, Death Dance, but you do want to have like a little bit of tankiness there in your build path with Mord from the health from Rylai's and Liandry's, and because those two items synergize so well together, they're kind of just too good to pass up on. But getting a Death Dance as your third item, because Mordekaiser does have 80 ratios on both his Q and his E, and because the healing that he can get from the Death Dance is really good now, due to the fact that he is going to be healing from the magic damage from his kit. It's just a pretty underrated item on Mord in this patch right now, and it is having really good success as a third item on him. So Jax is going to stay an S tier pick for 824. He did get a nerf in this patch to his rank 2 and rank 3 ultimate. However, the changes weren't very impactful at all. If he did get a nerf to his rank 1 ultimate, then I think that he could drop down a little bit, but the rank 2 and rank 3 ult change don't really matter too much. He does also kind of get indirectly stronger in this patch because of the changes to Death's Dance. It now is a little bit stronger on Jax because it does work off the magic damage from his abilities. He's going to heal from that magic damage now, so it is a good item later on into the game, but it's also an item that it's just hard to fit into Jax's build path because you still want to go Tiamat, you still want to go Trinity Force and Essence Reaver, and then as your third item, that's where you could slot it in. But a lot of games you're still going to want to go Sterix as a third item to just give yourself some more tankiness there, and oftentimes going for like 3 damage items on Jax is a little bit overkill because Trinity Force and Essence Reaver are often just enough damage for the champion. So even though Death Dance, it is a pretty good item right now on Jax, I wouldn't be building it like early on into the game. You still want your core items. Only grab it if you're like super far ahead or if you are really late into the game and you need another item to pick up. And then to round up the S tiers for this patch is going to be Pantheon. So Pantheon right now has seen a rise over the past few patches for a few different reasons. We have been seeing Aftershock become a lot more popular on Pantheon top lane, and this means that Pantheon becomes a much better blind pick because in his weaker matchups to where he isn't going to be able to do a ton in the laning phase and he's not really going to be able to get a ton of kills, he can run the Aftershock and it does help him in those matchups. In his easy matchups that he can bully, he can still run Electrocute and have really good success. So because Pantheon does have a lot of versatility right now with runes, it does make him a much more consistent pick. We did also see a lot of top laners recently get nerfed. So we saw Victor get nerfed in this patch, and that was a matchup in previous patches that Pantheon did struggle against quite a bit. Aurelia and Akali also got nerfed in this patch, and Pantheon does great into those matchups, so he does get even better into those champions for 824. So for tier 2 or A tier for this patch, there's a few champions that I want to touch on here. The first one being Cassiopeia top lane with a Q max. This is getting really popular right now over in Korean solo queue, and it's kind of the substitute for Victor right now. With Victor getting nerfed and him dropping down, Cassiopeia is on the rise right now, and what players are doing is they're going for the Q max. They're also running the Comet on Cassiopeia, so you do just have a lot of poke in the laning phase, and she does very well into almost any melee top lane champion. You're more so just playing for the poke with your Q than you are for the damage follow up with your E, so it's overall just a pretty safe laning top lane champion. She's going to win almost every single matchup, and you do also scale pretty nicely into the mid to late game, so she's a pretty low risk, high reward champion if you do know how to play her well. A pick I did move up out of tier 4 into tier 2 for this patch is the Galio. Galio did end up getting some very nice buffs for solo queue for 824 here. His Q got some really good buffs, the mana cost got decreased, the damage got increased, so I no longer think this champion is a dumpster fire top lane pick. He actually is pretty viable now for 824. For tier 3 or B tier for this patch, 3 champions, or actually 4 champions, end up moving down. We've got Akali, Aurelia, Gangplank, and Victor, who are all moving down in the tier list for this patch. So for Victor, the nerfs that he got in this patch are really not faring for him very well, and he's doing quite poorly right now in 824, so I would be staying away from him after those nerfs. I don't think he's a very viable carry top laner compared to a lot of the tier 2 or tier 1 picks. Aurelia and Akali also got nerfed for this patch, so unless you really know how to play these champions, then I just don't think they're worth playing over a tier 1 or a tier 2 pick. And then for the Gangplank, Gangplank's a champion right now that struggles a lot against some of the most picked top laners. We've got some of these really aggressive top lane picks being played right now in the Riven and the Jax, having 2 of the highest pick rates for 824, and in those matchups, Gangplank does tend to just not do as well, so unless you're a really good Gangplank player, I would also stay away from him in 824. And then for tier 4 or C tier for this patch, we do have the usuals, and then you also do have Heimerdinger. Now the reason to why Heimerdinger is down here is because he's actually bugged right now. I'm not too sure when they're going to fix this bug. If they do end up fixing the bug, then he is still going to be a tier 2 top lane pick, but as of right now, his E is not stunning for the correct duration. It's only stunning for 0.25 seconds instead of 1.25 seconds, and I'm pretty sure he's also got another bug somewhere in his kit right now, so until he does get hot fixed, or until those bugs do get fixed, stay away from Heimerdinger. But when they do get fixed for next patch, he's going to be back up into tier 2 or maybe even tier 1, because I do think Heimerdinger with Kleptomancy in the top lane, if he was not bugged, is actually a very good pick right now. So that is going to be all for the top lane tier list for 824. There's definitely quite a few new things that are popping up in this patch right now. The Riven, the Mordekaiser, the Aftershock Pantheon, the Cassio top lane. There's actually a lot of new things that are making its way into the meta for the top lane right now. So hopefully you can use this tier list to your advantage in this patch and add some new champions into your champion pool. But with that being said, guys, if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.